And
Okay. All right, I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Hartford Select Board on Tuesday, November 26th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Our first item tonight is the Pledge of Allegiance. Anyone like to lead us?
Yeah, absolutely.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, we have no local liquor control board business, but we do have a cannabis control board business, so we'll close this portion of the select board meeting. Reopen as the local cannabis control board. We're considering the renewal of the Tea House LLC. Miriam is here. I don't know if you want to say a word or two, or if anyone has any questions for you. I'll give you the microphone. Hello.
nice to see you all.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, I'm here. I can't believe it's been another year, but I am here to have our license renewed.
Great. Anyone have any questions?
Just how's it going?
Things are good. Things are good. I'm learning a lot. We have a great staff, and just the Vermont cannabis industry is really great. And we've just met and connected with a lot of people throughout the state who I don't think I would have otherwise crossed paths with, both in terms of business relationships and personal relationships. So everything is good.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll take a motion on this. Mary?
Okay, I move that the select board accept the renewal of S00009921, the Tea House LLC, of their license.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a second from Lanny. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank
Thanks
you.
very much for coming by. Okay, so we'll close that portion of the Cannabis Control Board meeting, reopen as the Select Board. Order of agenda, any changes on this? I don't think so. So we'll go to public comment. We'll start with people in the room, and then we'll go to those joining us on Zoom. If you would like to comment, please come up to the microphone, state your name and town or village of residence. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Once the timer goes off, please just summarize your remarks. Joe, we'll kick it off with you.
Well, thank you. Joe Major, White River Junction. It's been a few weeks from the election, and I more wanted to just say thank you. Thank you for the people of Windsor, and in particular, the people of Hartford, that they entrusted me to go up to Montpelier and do my best to try to make their lives better. I think in crossing the district, one of the things that I've heard, and it was emphasized with my caucus, is that we have to work on property taxes above and beyond. And that is what we're going to do in working with the governor to try to do that. So very shortly, I will be putting out my cell phone number as well as my email address to make sure that I get the constituents here in Hartford to be able to contact me. And I promise I will, if you do call me on my cell phone and I don't reach you immediately, I will get back to you within 24 hours. But once again, I just wanted to say thank you. And I appreciate everyone who has supported me through this process. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Any other comments in the room? Okay, is there anyone on Zoom?
No hands up at the moment.
Okay, well, we will close public comment and go to select board comments and announcements. Kim, do you have anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to get the board's temperature. I have a request for the town manager, but not to be as coming from an individual. I just wanted to see if there were any objections to asking the town manager when he's back from vacation to set aside some meeting agenda time for a discussion with Chief Sheldon about the updated town fair and impartial policing policy, which is a little in conflict with the Welcoming Hartford ordinance. And I'd like to just request a discussion around that. And I don't want it to come from just me. So I just wanted to see if the board had any problem with that. I'm okay with that.
Sounds like a good
Probably
discussion.
worth an update.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, okay. So I'll ask
Mary
that when
gets
John
on.
gets back. Oh,
It's still going. See, it did this last time too,
Okay.
and I don't know why. It's still going.
Brandon, any comments?
Not from me at the moment.
Mary?
Nope, just I hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving and safe travels.
Okay, Lanny, anything?
I was approached by citizens concerned about the parking situation in the new South Main Street parking lot. Apparently, we've got some very long-standing vehicles there and concerns about ordinance enforcement in terms of whether we're going to be able to have those vehicles removed if they are in violation, or what the status is of those vehicles. I would also like to really see if we can't move forward with Matt Busey and try to get some understanding of him, of how many spots in that South Main Street parking lot are actually utilized by tenants. So that you won't have concern about those tenants taking up the spots for long term.
We put that on the agenda?
That would be worthwhile to do.
Okay. Everyone pretty good with that? We'll get John to give us an update on the parking lot. I do you have any comment?
No comment. Just
Okay.
Apologies for being late tonight.
Okay, no worries.
You're talking to me?
No, I didn't know if you had a question.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Okay, I don't have any select board comments, so our next item are appointments, reappointment of Dan Nott of the Hartford Committee on Housing and Homelessness. I don't know, Dan isn't here, I don't believe. So any discussion, or I'll take a motion.
Is Dan online?
He's not.
Make a motion if Lanny,
Okay.
unless Lanny wants to.
Make it-
Okay, I move that the select board reappoint Dan Nott to the Hartford Committee on Housing and Homelessness for a 2-year term beginning November 26th, 2024, and ending November 25th, 2026.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Kim, any discussion?
Just wish to say that that Dan has been an active and thoughtful member of the committee so far.
Great, thank you. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. It's done. Town manager report. John, of course, is on vacation. If you looked at his town manager report, he mentioned that we made a hire for the community nurse, that he will be out of town till December 2nd, and that the offices, town offices, will be closed on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, Friday.
And Friday. And so we'll also remember a couple items for the agenda to ask him to put on, that we just talked about, and select board comments. Okay, so moving on, our next item is an HCOREI update. We have Pat here to give us an update.
Yes, hello. I'm here to give you an update about HCOREI, the Hartford Committee on Racial Equity and Inclusion. I think the last time I was here talking with you all was in March of this year, so it's been a while.
Can you
And
just
I also
introduce
believe
yourself
that-
for public?
And state your name if you could.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm Pat Attilio and I'm from Quechee.
Great.
I chair the HCOREI committee for about a year. Yes, so I was saying, oh yeah, we gave a last update back in March, and I'm pretty sure we've gone to an annual update schedule. So I may not be doing this again, or the chair may not be doing this again until next year. So first of all, talk about the strategic plan initiatives from HCOREI. So when HCOREI was formed some years ago, we had a strategic plan put together, which outlined a number of areas that we should be focusing on as a committee. And we found that really is a touchstone for us over all these years, and has informed the things we pursue. So there's some good progress this year. Of course, HCOREI itself does recommendations. We put these forward to the select board in some cases, and to the school board in other cases. And so this year we saw the community safety review get completed after having advocated for that for some years. That was finally contracted for, and we received a report from them. I think there may still be some readouts that are pending on that, but the basic work was done. So I want to acknowledge that. Another area was the communication officer position. I don't know what the exact title is, but we have JD Hawks online, and all indications are he's doing a good job, and I think there's been 4 Hartford newsletters come out already, and they're very informative. So again, this was another thrust from HCOREI to get someone like this on board. And I think it benefits the whole community. Policy on policies, the interestingly named initiative of ours, which is to provide a more standardization around how our policies and ordinances are tracked and documented here in the town. And it just makes it easier for all citizens to understand what these ordinances are, particularly, and how, and you know, when they were last reviewed, and who owns them, and in terms of updating and so forth. So yeah, the policy and policies, our committee created a template now. And I talked to John recently about that work, and that template is being used for new policies and ordinances, well, really ordinances at this point, and for ordinances that are revised or updated. They are being converted over to the new template. There have been only about 6 of them so far, but so maybe we'll get some more traction on that over time. But I can see our grandchildren will all have standardized policies. And related to that was the policy digitization work, which is, you know, it may seem surprising that HCOREI put that forward, but it's about accessibility, not just to have to have on the website or online, anyone living in Hartford be able to see policies and ordinances, but also that can lead to people with you know, visual impairments or things can that those, once they're digitized, those can all be made accessible. So that was the thinking from our committee, that it's another win-win. And you know, John tells me that vendors are being evaluated, and there's a selection pending for that to go forward with that. So that's promising. It seems like it's going to be kicking off in the new year. And I'm probably telling you all things you already know. Yeah, so that's the strategic plan, main things. And you can chime in with any questions on this if you like. What else have we been doing this year, or have we done this year with HCOREI? So a few things. We had Tatum Barnes from Parks and Rec. Very happy to welcome him as a staff liaison to the group. And so that's something we've been looking to do for a while. They have a conduit into the town staff and be able to get their perspective from that. So he's joined us. Our student liaison, Molly Armbruce, went off to college, and we miss her dearly, but so we're looking for another student liaison. And we met with Julia Lau, the diversity coach and facilitator of DEI in the Hartford School District. She's a great person, and she's joined our meetings twice this year and told us about all the things she's doing. And one of the things she's doing is hopefully finding us another student to join as a student liaison committee, because that would be a great, we want to maintain that connection there. And we're also looking to get more community members involved in HCOREI generally. I don't want to forget to say that. So if you can hear my voice, we need people not necessarily to be on the committee, be committee members. There may be opportunities there, but just to, anyone can show up on first and third Wednesdays of the month, now at 7 p.m. here in the town hall, and participate and contribute their opinions, and we'll find ways for you to contribute if you like. So please consider that. All right, so what other things we did this year as a committee? The main thrust, if I were to summarize it, would be to outreach and community engagement. So I felt it was very important to get our more familiarity within Hartford about what HCOREI is trying to do and what we're all about. And to get outside of the, the committee meetings and into the community. So not only did we, meet with Julia, but we tabled at the Hartford Community Coalition Block Party. If you had a child attending there, you probably got a balloon that I would put, balloon animal I made for him. In the process, I've created a new flyer brochure for the committee, to have that in people's hands. I've created a banner. I don't think anyone's here seen it. I went to Vista Print, got a big banner when we go out tabling. One of the impetus for that was I also tabled at the Hartford School District had an in-service day for the teachers, and they had community groups in the gym at the high school to introduce themselves and to have an interaction and talk with the teachers a bit. So I was there, and I realized we didn't have anything. I didn't have anything to give them to take home with them. So I made up some flyers and stuff like that. So again, getting out there, updating our Facebook page more often, making the HCOREI website a little more readable and got more interesting stuff on it. We got a better URL for the, it used to be about a mile long, and now it's just as HCOREI. And, so all this trying to get our name out there. Unfortunately, Juneteenth was canceled due to extreme weather threats, and it was very unfortunate. I know Joe and team did everything in their power to make Juneteenth happen this year. It just didn't come off. But I feel a new day dawning in 2025. I'm sure that's going to happen. Other things that we're doing to kind of connect the dots within the community. We have met with the Lebanon DEI group, a representative from that. We intend to have joint meetings together with Lebanon's committee, find ways to broaden to expand our abilities in the Upper Valley, and to kind of be better together and trying to get that all working. I just think that'll be beneficial. We met with the members of Quechee Lakes has a DEI committee, and 3 members of that group came and met with us, and we talked about ways to collaborate. They've been doing their own things around the Abenaki Garden and some other things to get to promote diversity there in Quechee Lakes. So we had a good meeting with them. So suffice it to say, that's kind of been the thrust this year, and we want to continue that in the new year. And perhaps hold some events of our own, like a block party, or maybe I'm thinking like ethnic food event or some musical event. And you may see me submit in the days to come a small budget item to make that a little easier for us to do. So I talked to John about that. I'll be getting a small request. HCOREI has never had a budget per se outside of Juneteenth activity, but we'd like to again promote that presence and get fun things going. And I think building more community in Hartford is always a good thing, and that's what we want to do, get everybody involved. So that's it in a nutshell, what we've been doing and what we're looking to do.
Okay, questions for Pat? Kim?
Pat, do you know, have funds been requested for the fiscal year 26 for Juneteenth for?
I do not. Do not.
Maybe when.
I'm getting a little busy.
What have you been doing?
If I may, generally those funds are in Parks and Recreation.
Yes.
So maybe
So
Parks and
when-
Recreation has done that.
Yeah, we can ask Scott when he does his presentation. Speak of the devil.
Questions for Pat, or comments? Brandon?
Yeah, thanks so much for describing your work over the last year. I'm especially curious about whether the committee has looked into wealth or net wealth disparities between families of color and let's say, all white families.
Mhm.
As I'm sure you know, the kind of data on this disparity nationally is kind of horrendous, right? Even if all these systemic problems that this is the evidence of were magically fixed, the consequences, which are the disparity, would still exist for generations. So just wondering whether you've looked into this in Hartford, the prevalence of this, and what can be done about it.
Right. Well, funny you should ask that. Another hat that I wear as a data analyst for a group called the Vermont Racial Justice Alliance. They're based out of Burlington, and Mark Hughes is the leader. So if you go to VTRacialJusticeAlliance.org, I think it is, we've actually put together a set of data pages that talk about disparities that we could find data on in Vermont. Wealth is a tough one, but we have home ownership, income levels, and things like that on what we call data cards that compare the national disparity between white and black citizens, and as well at the Vermont level, and compare the two. So it's something as that role, I've been associated with the Racial Justice Alliance for about 5 years now. And in that role, I've done a lot of this data gathering, as you described it. I say, just to answer the second half of that question, what do you do about it? It's a good question. The most recent book I can recommend on this, it has some good recommendations at the back, is called Poverty by America by Matt Desmond. And it's a wonderful book about poverty generally in this country. And it also includes the additional poverty burden on people of color. So recommend that. Brandon, everyone is welcome to come to our HCOREI sometime. We can talk about this.
Thanks.
Other questions or comments for Pat?
All right, thank you.
Thanks very much, Pat. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks for your leadership, Pat.
All right, our next item. So considering two requests for exceptions to our social service appropriation policy. You saw that if social service organization doesn't let us know they're seeking funding by November 15th, we usually in the past made the petition for signatures. And so that happened this year with Advanced Transit and the Historical Society. So I guess the question is, do we have an appetite to make an exception in this case, or we can go out with petition? I don't really have much of a thought either way. Well, if there's anyone here who'd like to speak on behalf of either organization, please do so. Just identify yourself.
My name is Adams Carroll. I'm with Advanced Transit. I'm the executive director. We're up in White River Junction. Yeah, I appreciate second audience about this issue in a week. The request is the same. We're happy to petition if that's what you all require of us, but it would save us quite a bit of time and effort and could put our attention towards other things if we did not have to do that. We're not asking for an increase. So there's no, even if we were to petition, we would not be asking for an increase. So there's nothing different about the request this year than the one last year. Happy to answer any questions or.
Mary?
I don't have a question for you, but I'll direct this towards Gail. From all the messaging going back and forth that we got in our packet, my understanding is has this never happened before in the 6 years since this policy?
Correct.
Okay.
We've never done an exception, or
We haven't.
Okay, so people have missed it before.
They have.
Yeah.
And my recommendation as a finance director would be that you keep the policy in place that you have this right now and not make an exception. But if you would like to change the policy, then do so. But we're in the middle of the process right now. And by making an exception now, you're going to need to open it up to the entire town in case there's other entities that missed it as well. Maybe they were interested in it, but then they missed the deadline. So.
What's the number of signatures, 400?
500, I thought.
I don't know.
It's
if-
5%.
Something like
It's
that.
5%.
I thought it was, yeah, I think
9,000.
the town clerk told me it was around 488, but don't.
Yeah.
you know.
That's a question.
Sure.
My understanding of the policy is that the only organizations that would be eligible to submit an appropriations request would be the ones that have petitioned
Before.
in a previous year, and that aside from us and the Historical Society, all of the organizations that qualify did submit.
Yep.
Is
There was
that
actually
correct?
more that did not.
Okay,
There was, I believe, 5 that didn't. It just happens to be that the town manager did reach out to several of you and let you know that you missed the deadline and on Monday without a clear understanding of actually what the policy was. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't be here right at this particular moment. So just, we're trying to maintain the integrity of the process. And as a finance director, I'm just giving you my recommendation. Obviously, the board has the final say on it, so.
Board, what's your pleasure? Patty?
Okay, I don't totally understand how this would open us up to a lot more requests for an exception besides the 2 organizations that have already requested this. Because if there's there's a 3-year, there was a total of 5 that had petitioned previously that missed the deadline, and we heard from 2, is that?
There was a total of 5 that didn't submit on time,
Okay,
and Advanced Transit as being one of them.
okay, and then have we heard from any besides Advanced Transit and the Historical Society about?
I wouldn't hear from them. That would come from the town manager's office.
Okay, so there's the potential, just to clarify, there's the potential that 3 additional organizations might ask for a exception if we grant an exception to these 2. Is that what other people understand? Okay.
Brandon? you have a comment?
Sure, I was just wondering, thank you for getting to the bottom of that or helping Ida. In my mind, that would mean that if we act to make an exception, we would act to make an exception for the 5 that have already been receiving this funding in prior years and did not submit this year in time. So in that case, like, I would guess we would have to reach out to the other 3 and say, we now have an exception, if that's a possibility sort of systemically.
Manny?
So we have a significant amount of appropriations that are asked of the town for social service agencies. And they are all able to come in and well under time to meet the deadlines of this. I realize you're new to Advanced Transit.
relatively, not an excuse. though.
Relatively, it's not, but yet again, it's not an excuse. I mean, to be able to be late. So it's to me, it's a slap in the face to all these other organizations that followed the policy, were able to get their request in on time, and are already approved for that. There is more than enough time and more than enough notice is given if somebody wants to research it and get the money out of it. I'm opposed to allowing, as much as I really care for the Historical Society, and I don't see Advanced Transit succeed well. I mean, you have to weigh this across everything. As much as I would love to do this for Historical Society and Advanced Transit, I can't see that moving forward.
Yeah.
I also think this is the second time that Advanced Transit has missed the deadline, correct?
This is the first time since I have worked at Advanced Transit, but I
Okay.
joined in 2022.
I believe it.
Yeah, they did.
I think it's either we move on or someone makes a motion that we make an exception. Just to keep things moving.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we do not offer an exception to Advanced Transit or the Hartford Historical Society for exemptions from the policy.
There's something about not making decisions in
I
the
think it's
negative.
preferred to be done in the positive,
Yeah.
but I think we understand.
Yeah.
What he's saying. His motion is that we don't make an exception.
Right.
So we have a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I will second it.
Okay.
And if I can, I also, I think express like sincere appreciation for all of the nonprofit organizations that seek appropriations, but I do agree. I don't see it as a slap in the face, but I think it's a process that's like, I also wish there was a way that we could equitably notify people that the deadlines are coming. We had that whole discussion when this has come up before, and I don't think that there is a way to do that. So I guess this would be like the biggest reminder ever for future years, is that you won't want to go through this again and have to get petitions again. So it'll be super prominent in your calendar going forward. Anyway, that's where I stand on it.
So we have a motion and a second. A yes vote would mean that we don't grant an exception, and no vote means, well, we leave it open to maybe another motion.
Another comment. I think I wasn't present for the last discussion about how to notify equitably that this deadline is approaching. I guess I would be in favor of having that discussion again at some point, because I do think, especially now that we have a communication system worked out a little bit better with JD's role, there might be a way to at least put that through channels broadly. And maybe because I wasn't part of past discussions, I would be in favor, so I'm going to vote no. But yeah, that's all.
Wayne?
Yeah, I hear what you're both saying about that, but I don't believe that it should be on the town of Hartford to go out and tell people, hey, give us your appropriations so we can put it before the taxpayers. I think it's behooving of the actual agency that's out there, or the social service agencies. It's in their best interest to put in these. I don't think that we should be, going out and saying, hey, let us give you money. I don't think that's an appropriate step for the select board to be taking. We make the notice that it's available for them to petition the town. Everyone is able to see that. More than enough agencies have seen this and have put in for that. I think that's more than adequate for us to do for this policy. So.
Okay, Brandon?
I just wanted to put in my 2 cents that I think it would be also a good reminder to the organizations, if they very nearly had to spend 100 employee hours going out and getting signatures. So just the threat that they might have to do this in the future, because this would be a one-time exception. I think just the threat would be enough, and that this story will get around, and that folks will submit on time next year. So that's why I would vote no to this particular thing.
No, yes, it'd be yes.
A yes
No,
vote
I think
means
you-
no exception.
Right.
Okay.
A yes vote means no exceptions, therefore I would vote no on this particular thing,
Okay.
which
So
is
you
to
could
say
grant-
allowing exceptions,
Okay,
allowing this exception this time.
gotcha. Any other discussion? Well, I guess we will call the roll. A yes vote means no exception.
Yeah, I vote aye, no
Lanny?
exceptions.
Lanny, yes. Ida?
Nay.
Mary?
Yes.
Brandon?
Nay.
Kim?
Yes.
I will also vote yes. So no exception this time. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for the
though.
consideration. I
thank you.
appreciate it.
I'll happily help
Me
get
too.
signatures.
Me too.
All right, okay, so we're getting into our budget portion. We've got 3 budget presentations tonight. The first one is Lori with planning and development. So Lori, when you're ready, turn it over
To
to
be
you.
made a, okay. Okay, and I am a little bit, so. Here. Share. Here you go. Okay. And then I want to get onto my. Go.
In this interstitial moment
and
here, I just wanted to put on the record that that John, our town manager, in an email whose chain we were all made privy to, said that he thinks, and I know he's not here to elaborate, but he thinks that the allowing no exceptions was somewhat draconian.
Yep, thank you for getting that on the record. Lori, whenever you're ready.
Well, okay, so, thank you. Okay, need a little bit closer, good, do that. Okay, so tonight I'm going to be presenting to you the department budget. And one thing I always like to start off talking a little bit about is who are we? And that is, I think it's really important because there's an interaction that a lot of different things that we have a span across time, but we're in much of what we do is really as a service and infrastructure oriented department. So we have a lot of program areas that we cover. And in many of those, what we're really looking at is that planning function. What do we need to make room and plan for today so that we can move into the future that we want? In addition to that, we take those goals over years that we have been achieving, and they translate into specific activities and projects throughout the town in many different program areas. We're what I say, we're small but a mighty department because we do cover a lot of areas, and we're out there all the time interacting with the public, hearing what they want, and then trying to translate that into program areas that we can implement. It's kind of small, but what we see here is that we have 7 program areas that come within the department, and I'll go through them in a few minutes. And then in addition to that, we do put money aside for reserve for activities. Sometimes it's a little bit every year so that at the end of it, we have the opportunity to do something that we have enough money to do it rather than, you know, hitting the budget every year with larger amounts, but we try and put a little bit of money away for some activities. And then our second piece is that I talked about is our project implementation. And we do also have capital improvement activities that we do. So you can see here, we've got conservation is a very important area of protecting our natural resources. Zoning, again, is a very technical area dealing with land use, particularly in there. We're focusing on how land is used, specific to permits that we may be issuing, building permits. Sometimes it requires a public hearing before the zoning board of adjustments. For those meetings, we do a full analysis of an application that comes before us. We meet with all the department heads for that activity, and we give comments back to the applicant, give them an opportunity to respond back. And we're doing this every 5 weeks for applications. And in the course of the year, we could have 60 some odd applications that may become before the zoning board. And when we're done with all of those comments, we put them together and consolidate it into a legal and binding a document that goes before the ZBA, documenting the history of the property and looking at what it is that is being proposed in this particular application. The function of the zoning board of adjustments and the planning commission, and you can see that comes under the planning department section of 622. It is a quasi-judicial function that goes on there. So we are regulated very closely by state statute in terms of what we can do and how we can do it or not. So those are things that we have to be very mindful of. There's very strict procedures in there in terms of what needs to be done at the local level. If there are any concerns, what might get bumped up to the state level for consultation, or if there is someone may not agree with a decision that's been made, then it goes up into the court system. We're involved in all those aspects under those departments. Housing and community development, we've broken up into that section because it gives us an opportunity to really look a little bit more into the housing and economic development and community involvement in that process. And as I'll be going into a little bit more, that really gets us into that whole housing and economic development area that we've been working on over the last couple of years, updating the town chapter for housing and the town plan chapter for economic development. very sensitive. Forestry is another thing that we focus on. Let me get that there. Our department, through the Conservation Commission, oversees the town forest. It's one of their responsibilities. And so there's ongoing activities, maintenance, and so forth that goes on with that, and they're in charge of that. Historic preservation is also another area that we have a federal designation as a certified local government. And with that comes some responsibilities for reviewing of historic structures and any improvements that might be proposed towards them, particularly when it involves an Act 250 application, or there are some federal or state funds involved in that project. But in addition to that, the Historic Preservation Commission with staff, assistants and all of this, has been working for over 25 years in documenting the history of our neighborhoods, typically resulting in historic district nominations that go on the National Register. And we also have done things like performing arts and oral histories that are recorded at the state archives and all of those things. Community resilience is also another area that obviously we're getting a lot more attention, particularly with a lot of the situations going on in our community with weather changes. And so we're working very closely again with the Energy Commission and the Resilience Committee, or arm of that committee, working collaboratively with them. Conservation Reserve Fund is one of those things that I talked about earlier. And in that regard, we again, putting a little bit of small amount of money every year within our budgets. And in that regard, we're trying to gather up enough funds so that we can do some marketing and branding. We're getting to that point where we actually have something. It's an extremely expensive process where you find out, but we try and do little things as it is. So we want to build on to those activities that are going on at a state level in doing promotion and tourism, working very closely with the Downtown Business Association, now that's working in conjunction with the chamber as well, in a very close-knit relationship there too. So we're want that to spread out a little bit more into our other downtown villages. We want to get back to something we started many years ago with doing village center designations. And that's something that we'll be continuing on in the next year as well. And then our capital improvement projects, we pride ourselves pretty well in getting a lot of state funding or federal dollars through the state to do implementation of capital improvement projects. A lot of that is our bike ped program. And so we have 3 of those that are in the works right now, actually 4. Only 3 of them need additional funding to meet the matching for the grants, but and so we're working towards implementation of those as well. Just to give you a little quick review of where we are in terms of last year's budget as it compares to this year's budget. I will say that when I looked at the budget, I tried to keep it as flat as possible. And you will note that most areas there is no increase except under pretty much necessary components of our budget. I was hearing what it was a concern in the community. I said, okay, we'll make it work with what we have. We probably could use more, but if it could, we'll try and do our best to work with what we do have. But there are some areas where we are recognizing and asking for increases, but not a heck of a lot. So you can see that here. Just to also look a little bit, I wanted to make sure that it was clear that we are increasing the development or housing and development specialist position a little bit higher in order to be able to have it attract the individuals that would need to get that kind of compensation. Looking at what's being provided across the state and in our region, the salary that we had just wasn't very competitive. And the qualifications that we were asking for really required it to be put up to a next grade. So I wanted to make sure you were aware of the impact of that on the budget as well. That is actually, just to say that is already included within the budget numbers that you see here in terms of that 15,708, that additional cost is actually included within there. So just a kind of a little cap here, what we have, the Homes for Hartford. It's sort of, and the logo that goes along with it, sort of that little saying, and the logo was really something we kicked off in 2022 when we were doing our housing chapter update. And it really put into play what we were hearing in the community is about that. It's just not about a house. It's just not about having a place to lay your head down at night as a structure, but it's a home. And that home can take many different shapes and sizes and capacities, but we don't have enough of any of it. And we need to be focusing much more on providing information, technical assistance, resources to everyone in the community. And that includes our property owners and our developers and our residents. And some of them are property owners and some of them are just a resident, but they have just as much of an important part in our housing development and production area. We are at the point where we're now completing the adoption process for, we're going to be completing the adoption process for the update of our housing chapter, as well as our economic development chapter in fiscal year 25, going into 26. We'll be kicking off in earnest a lot more application of the changes that are being recommended within those chapters of the town plan. We are also, this year, we're very fortunate to be able to get the partnership of the Two Rivers Adequacy Regional Commission to work with us on, unexpectedly, they had some resources available for us that they could update our bike ped plan, which is almost 20 years in age. And so we're nearing completion of that, and that'll come before the board at some point. We're also in the mid-process of updating our zoning regulations, particularly focusing on changes that are necessary to come into compliance with changes at the state level for housing chapter and they're reflected in our housing chapter as well. And then we're going to start this year doing some changes to our flood regulations, but it'll mostly be in fiscal year 26 that we really kick it off in earnest. And then we're in that next stage of having to update our hazard mitigation plan. That has to be done every 5 years. So we're going to be kicking that off as well. We talked a little bit about marketing and promotion, but again, it's really building on and working in partnership with those entities within town, regionally, and at the state level that we can get the biggest bang for our buck. And then implementing a schedule for capital improvement projects. That will also include, if possible, getting a planning grant to do a more comprehensive economic development, capital improvement planning process townwide. That is the town manager's one of his initiatives, and we'll be facilitating getting a grant, applying for a grant for that as well. So I think I've hit a lot of our highlights here in the course of the discussion. I won't spend any more time in there. And I did hit on a lot of these earlier. And again, we, to the best of our ability, we were trying to maintain compliance and adherence to the budget guidance that was provided by the board. And here are all the ways in which we feel, probably a little bit more than I've captured here. So if you have any questions or discussion points, please.
Questions for Lori? Jim?
First, will you stop sharing your screen just because
Nice.
thank you. Just for people on Zoom,
Here,
it's fine.
here we
I think
go.
that's all they can see.
Here we
They
go.
can't.
Mhm.
Nobody's talking. What I think, I don't know if it's in progress, Gail. I had requested just a summary of reserve account balances. Is that something that we will get?
It'll be coming in the December 3rd meeting.
Awesome.
It won't come in your packet. I'll have to give it to everybody in person and then we'll just have it uploaded afterwards.
Okay. Do you know offhand, either of you, what is currently available in the reserve for the like the White River Junction downtown development part, that the 921?
Revitalization.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Kim.
Yeah.
We're still not, you're still sharing your screen.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, am I? I'm sorry. I thought I got out of that.
Sorry to interrupt you.
There we go. Thanks.
I don't know off the top of my head. I know Lori just barely gave it to me. this week, because I'm putting them all together, so.
Okay.
Not unless you know, Lori, off the top of your head.
I
what the
may not
balance
have
is.
it off the top of my head either. I'm sorry, it was a long couple of days, so I can't say if I'd give it to you accurately.
That's fine, and I didn't request that in advance as, in addition to asking for all the reserve
Yeah.
account balances, so I'll look forward to getting that at a later time. I do think, and this is super minor, but in your earlier slides, it says 3,000 each in the conservation reserve and but it's actually 5,000 in the revitalization. So in your slide for the total for the 921 reserve account requests, it's 8,000, which I think, which jives with the budget book.
Oh, I may have, sorry about that.
So I don't think that's a
Okay,
big deal, but basically we want a total of 8,000 instead of 6,000 for those two accounts for reserve.
It's correct. in the budget book.
Yeah.
I gotta just do it in there, yeah. that's fine.
Yeah, I guess I'd be curious. I would be curious to know, like how some of the implementation happens on, like if the housing chapter said we started working on it in 2022 and it's still in progress, like what's the next steps of the update of the housing chapter for the town plan?
So that's gonna be combined with the economic development chapter, because it's such we rolled so quickly right into the economic development because we were able to get the grant for that. It's a long process to do that, but we're just about done with the economic development chapter. So we'll be rolling them together.
Okay.
And hopefully within the next 2 months, we'll start the community meetings. We're going to be coming to the board with them in a draft form. And then that'll be our community meeting as well. And that's an opportunity to do any last minute tweaks or make sure we're all on the same track, even if it hasn't been mentioned before at our meetings. And then we will kick off the actual formal process, which has very specific dates and times and periods by when an application has to be advertised to the public for the planning commission to review it, and then a certain period of time between that, and then it comes to the select board. So that usually breaks out into somewhere about 2.5 to 3 months just for that formal process. But our target is to actually get into that and maybe even complete it by the end of this fiscal year, if we can just roll right into it. But there may take a little bit of extra time, and if that's the case, we may have to go back into those prescribed noticing periods if there are any changes. So
Excuse me, but so both of those.
we'll be coming forward at the same time.
Okay, and the capital, excuse me, the capital planning you were talking about, we'd be getting a grant for, can you just
A
describe? that?
municipal planning grant was the thing that we were targeting for that. We put some money aside for the matching funds that we would need for that. It is something that is a John's priority. And the planning grant process got delayed this year. Normally it would have been completed by now, but the state, in fact, they just told me today, because I asked the question, and that they expected to be coming out in the next 2 or 3 weeks for the application process to begin.
But I guess I'm unclear, what is the end product that the grant?
The
would
end
help
product,
pay
what
for?
John wanted to do was to have a consultant come in to help facilitate and put together with the community, with the select board, a capital improvement plan,
Okay, great,
multi-year capital improvement plan.
that is a great priority, thanks.
Yeah, couple of questions. From a historical aspect, I don't know whether you're gonna be able to answer the question or not, maybe Gail would. Do you have any recollection of what impact fees brought in for the town of Hartford?
Impact of anything in specific?
Impact fees when developers.
Oh, the impact fees,
Impact fees,
okay.
yes. When people had to pay impact fees for the town, do you have any recollection of what that was?
Well, the impact fees were spread amongst many departments, so I really can't speak to that. In fact, we didn't really get impact fees into our department. We were just the ones collecting it.
Right, I understand.
And it was
that.
during it was in the process of an application coming before us for site development and plan approval or whatever it was. So it went to it was the fire department. I think Park and Rec got some. I don't know if the police got any. DPW did have some. So I really have to defer to them to give you the information as to how well it worked for them and whether or not, what the impact
Right.
was. For that.
Okay, that's one thing that I think we should look at, reinstating impact fees again. But the other question I guess I had for you is line item 10, 622, 312, 0100.
Okay, could you give me a page on that line item?
75.
625,
75.
page 75, okay.
Marketing promotion. You asked for a $1,700, $1,750 bounce on that, and the town manager brought that down by 1,000. So the question I have about that is that we have a new communications position within the town of Hartford. And this is within the whole budget, so it's not just your budget as well. Anything where we're seeing marketing or promotion for the town of Hartford, I think something should be brought before JD.
Oh, he's working with us hand in hand right now.
Right, but what I'm saying is that maybe it should be fettered out into a position, into his position in terms of his budget that he has for marketing and promotion for the town of Hartford.
So,
wait a minute, I'm not finished yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I'm just wondering why it is that you felt we needed to have a $1,750 bump in that line item.
So you're talking about the marketing at 622, 312?
Yes.
That's just actually it went, okay, so I see what you're saying. So what the goal here in this particular one is it's at a lower scale. So sometimes marketing could be something that might be promoting the, let's, as an example, the farmer's market in West Hartford Village. And they want to promote the fact that here they are, this rural area, and we're doing this every Thursday, I think it is, right? Or whatever it is. This is more of working with the communities in terms of a lot of the stuff that we're doing in the effort to do that, working hand in hand with the rebuilding a community center, if that's what they wanted to do, or working with them. And they need a little bit of money to do that spread around all of the town. So that's the kind of thing that we're looking at. JD is looking at a lot of what we can do as a big unit to make our presence known more, but there's a lot of other type of marketing and branding that goes on, or even just awareness of communities as communities that is more at the community-based planning process stage. And that's why there's a lot of that stuff in here. That being said, JD is a partner in that process. And he's working with us in doing that. He's not getting involved all that much with the State Department of Tourism, but he will help us put together information that we would then work closely with the Department of Tourism in getting this word out, working with the downtown businesses for them to put together information that would go on the State Department of Tourism. Those are the kinds of things that we're looking at here.
Thank you. But this increase in the budget line that you're looking for, is it to increase the programs you currently have, or due to increase in cost of those marketing, or is it what is the actual dollar amount specified for? Is it for printing cost? Is it for you want to reach more within the community? You want to do more marketing for different things that you're not marketing? Is the need not being met now?
The need is not being met now with our new person coming on board and with the economic development plan draft that we have. One of the things it talks about is doing restarting this whole community village center dynamics with the residents within each of those villages, so that this gives us a little bit. If you think about this being spread over 4 communities or five areas, it's not a lot of money. But if we can pull our resources together and give a little bit of money in those resources to help them do it. In the past, I've used this for putting together signs for an event, maybe copying or putting together a handout on something. Maybe some matching funds that we did when we did Hartford Dollars, you know, and with the chamber, and we got a grant from the state. Those are the small little things that we're doing here on a really on a much more micro level than the overall town marketing and branding plan that would I think JD is focused on.
Okay, thank you.
Gail?
I apologize. I meant to state at the beginning before we started the budget presentation, just as a reminder, we don't want to say individuals' names. We should just be referring to the position that they hold.
I'm sorry, I don't remember what his actual position title is. so-
Communication specialist.
All right, sorry.
No, I apologize. I should have mentioned it at the
Yeah.
very beginning, just as a reminder.
You're right. I apologize. I just did not know what his position title was.
Questions for Lori? Further questions? Okay.
Just the housing development specialist, that's a full-time
Yes.
position, and so it's currently funded in fiscal 25. We're almost halfway through, so that's gonna be unspent salary funds. But you are advertising for the position now?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes,
well,
I've received some applications.
great. When do you think that might materialize?
Well, it all depends on who applies. It's until filled, but within a week, we've already received 3 applications.
Great.
So.
So it's only been advertised for a week?
Week and a half, week, I'm trying to forget. Most of it went out, not this last week, but the end of the week before that. We were re-evaluating it, getting information. So, you know, putting together, you know, and it just got delayed a little bit. So.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Good questions for
Yeah,
Lori?
This is a position that we authorized in last year's budget, right?
Yes,
This current.
the current year that
Yeah,
we're in.
during your budget, yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the delay attributed to? Just,
It was just available time to put together our comprehensive, do research on what's happening in other areas and how to form a new position and how to describe it. And it was just, there are a lot of deadlines I had, and there's a reason why I'm getting another. staff
did we
person.
get did the board get a copy of that position description?
It's on the
Excuse me?
website.
Is it? I'm just wondering if the board got a
Oh,
copy of the position description, yeah.
I guess.
It is on the
I didn't know
website?
that was normally a process, but we certainly
Okay.
could do
And there
that.
may be some
It's
pieces.
posted on the website too, but I can
Okay.
do that.
And it was included in the communication specialists, some recent like newsletter and listserv posts. It's been put in there too.
Thank you.
Good questions for Lori?
Any
Okay.
action items for Lori before she comes? She'll be back next week.
Here, any?
I would just like reserve account balances for any,
Yeah, I have a
Correct, yeah.
list of housekeeping things we'll talk
Gonna,
about.
yeah, reserve my, I guess, request until I hear back from you on the item that you're working on.
Yeah, I have a whole list of things we'll talk about when it's my turn to screen.
Okay.
So I think
Okay.
you're good to go.
Thank you,
Okay,
Lori.
well, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
Appreciate it.
you're
Yes,
welcome.
next, Lori.
All right, so next we'll let Scott get set up, but we'll hear the Parks and Rec budget presentation from Scott. When we're done with that, we'll probably take a 5-minute break. And then. So Scott, I'll let you get set up and whenever you're ready.
All right.
you can kick it off.
Stay right here. Nothing against you, Gil. Summaries and captions.
Yeah, you're gonna be a panelist.
Oh, okay, this just came up, that's why.
Full screen. so you can actually-
Don't put my whole tea in front of the head.
Oh, no.
Here,
Thanks.
so- That's not what my computer is.
Your electronics,
noises.
did your electronics get wet?
It did, I mean, just a little bit. It seemed like pretty superficial, but then my computer did start restarting itself in quick succession, so I'm gonna let it chill.
You know, you're not supposed to, you can marinate apples, you know, but not Apple computers.
Right, exactly. Yeah, they prefer not.
Not to be
So,
marinated, yes.
yeah.
Okay, Scott, whenever you're ready.
All right, I don't hope it survived. All right. Mr. Chair, Select Board members, appreciate the opportunity to come before you to share the Parks and Recreation Department FY 26 requests. Little information here about our mission and vision, what we're all about, and how we deliver our services to the community is through our vision and through our mission. So want to make sure that that is certainly part of what you see and how we present our budget this evening. Hartford Parks and Recreation. Our agency is the only nationally accredited agency in the state of Vermont. We're one of 213 agencies across the country. This process puts us in a position to use the best practices in Parks and Recreation and put them to use in our community. So it challenges us on a regular basis to be the best of the best. We go through a reaccreditation process every 5 years. We'll be doing that this coming FY 20 or in 26 or calendar year 25. And that process will test our agency with 154 national standards. It's a heavy train.
Our agency here, as you can see, the number of positions within the department. What you see here is identifies our Parks Division and kind of a Recreation Division. We have 8 full-time staff, multiple part-time seasonal positions that make up the operations of our department, along with hundreds of volunteers. Parks and Recreation, as many of you probably know, and if you don't, a lot of our parks are listed here that we manage and oversee. Most of them, a lot of them are maintained on an annual basis as well as just seasonally. But we also have some more areas such as the conservation area, David Chang Conservation Area, the Hurricane Forest Wildlife Refuge, you know, several areas that aren't publicly maintained on a regular basis. But we have a total of 19 areas that we are relatively responsible for. Within our agency, we do a lot of special events, art, entertainment, and special event programming. This is just a list of several of them that we do. Some of the big events, you know, the 4th of July celebration, a lot of our events at the Wendell Barwood Arena, you know, the HCC Block Party is a participating event that we take advantage of and are part of. A lot of the entertainment throughout the summer, movies in the park, a lot of our 5K road races, that sort of thing, are some of those public events. And we do on average about 26 public community events within the community. As far as recreation programs, giving you a highlight of all the youth and adult type of programs that we do, from youth sports, adult sports, to drop-in programs, after-school programs. The list goes on and on of the types of activities that take place under our operation. Some key highlights of some of our facilities. The Windelay Bar Road Arena last fiscal year was open 157 days. A total of 435 facility reservations in that facility, with a total of 1,573 hours of operation through those reservations. We had public skates throughout the winter months. We had an attendance of 4,030 participate. People in and out of the facility for high school hockey games, youth league games, curling, physical education classes, those types of things in the Barwood Arena totaled 57,000 people through the door. We rented 1,549 public rental skates, and over 15 different groups participate in reservations at that facility. The Sherman Manning Aquatic Facility, I wanted to give you a really good snapshot of what takes place there. All this information I'm giving you will be relevant to when we start talking numbers, but I think it's important for you to know. We wanted to give a better snapshot when we were pulling our data. So this particular snapshot includes, this is all of this summer. And it's not the complete fiscal year, but I figured a good June through August would be a good idea, especially this past summer. We were open 11 weeks. We had 54 scheduled hours per week for a total of 594 hours. Our daily pool passes that were sold to individuals that just walked in the door was 2,999. We had 182 pool passes that were sold. Those folks visited the facility 3,759. This could be repeat user, okay? 495 youth under the age of 4 were admitted for free. Anybody under that age gets in for free with their parents. 2,750 summer camp visits. So our summer camp, plus some other additional camps within the region that visited the facility, we kept track. So it was 2,750 visits by those campers. And we had 290 participants for pool parties and events that we took place at the pool, for total usage of just over 10,000. As far as the Maxfield Sports Complex, another quick snapshot of the type of users that use that facility. 242 days of operation through fiscal year 24. 761 reservations totaled, 3,817 hours of use. So these are reservations from teams, groups, organizations that reserve space through a permit process, and it lists the type of users that we have. Not just youth groups, we had Muskoma Bank, adult leagues, and all, as you can see here, plus the tennis courts and pickleball courts are all reserved at, most of the time, by organizations such as the Bugby Senior Center as well. Facilities by the numbers too, as far as reservations throughout the whole fiscal year, is 1,316 reservations. All of our parks was a total of 7,422 hours of reserved time, and total participation. This includes the arena and all the parks of just over 98,000 people. So when somebody makes a reservation, for prime examples, a school athletics reserves a facility, there's an anticipated number of participants that are part of that. We don't go around and count those that are there, but these are based on reservations, people saying we're expecting 50 people, we're expecting 50 people. And as far as recreation programs, the past fiscal year, 297 programs were offered. 3,748 individuals required a registration. We processed 16,000 transactions. Pickleball was the #1 activity in our parks. And what we're very proud of is the scholarship program. And this year we broke a record and distributed $12,900 in program scholarships to folks that could use some support and assistance in participating in our programs. Volunteers, 233 performed 4,450 hours of volunteerism for the town of Hartford. We utilize the national average for volunteer hours of service of $33.49. So it provides you a value in the community of $149,000 of value for Parks and Recreation. Something we're pretty proud of, and I think we should all be proud of the number of people that partake and are involved in our programs. This is the budget guidance that was presented. We do an exercise when the guidance comes out with staff and review it and make notes, and just to assure you as a select board in the community that we listen and we work hard to adhere to the guidance of the select board. So getting into some of the highlights within our budget, we're asking to maintain and continue the reserve account deposits for transferring to WABA of $35,000, the Park and Recreation Playground Program for restoration of playgrounds throughout the park system of $25,000, continuation and an increase of the reserve for the pool. We're asking for $20,000 and to restart the reserve for parks and rec equipment. For the past 2 years, we did not contribute. There was no contribution to the reserve because of the funding that was utilized, the ARPA funding that was utilized to purchase equipment. So we're asking to restart that reserve deposit for equipment and for the department. Some other highlights in the 511 budget, which is the Parks and Recreation Administration. We're looking to develop and pursue a master plan for the Parks and Recreation Agency. Currently, we are a portion within the town master plan. As far as the CAPRA requirements for accreditation of agencies, it's really important for us, and we've been told that we need to focus on your own agency. The town master plan doesn't necessarily complete what you need to complete as an agency. So not only the services that we're providing, the facilities of and how we focus and operate today and into the future. So it's important for us to establish a master plan. So we're asking for $60,000 for phase 1 of a Parks and Recreation master plan. So that's a big increase within the 511 budget, along with some additional funding related to wages and benefits in that line item. In the 512 budget, the Sherman Manning Aquatic Facility, there's no major changes there. There is a slight reduction of $11,000 in the lines for staffing within the 511 budget or 512 budget, which is the pool. When you start looking into the youth programs, there's an increase overall that we're looking at of over $69,000. A lot of that has to do with the additional health insurance plan with an employee, as well as an increase in some materials and supplies in the summer camp staffing. One thing to keep in mind within the 514 budget, when you do look at it, there is cost recovery there. So for example, the camp staffing is additional positions within the camp staffing. However, we will look at pricing related to the cost of running the camp, and we look to recoup the majority of that within our revenues for camps. The 521 parks and facilities budget, there's a significant increase there. We're looking to begin replacing, or we want to replace all of our park entrance signs. They're very tired. They're in need of replacement. We have started a small replacement related to our rules and regulations within the parks, but we're looking to replace all of the entrance signs that you might see as you visit like Lyman Park, east or west, and some of the other parks. Also within here, there's a replacement of one of our trucks that needs to be retired. And so within the budget, we are asking for that. You'll see a little bit later in some of our conversation that we're having. The reason why it's in the budget is to state, we're prepared to and requesting to purchase this equipment. We do have reserve funds, but it's a decision that needs to be made. Do we use the reserve account? Do we use all the reserve account? Do we budget for it and pay for it that way?
Excuse me, Scott, do you know the line item for that?
It's in the 521 budget, so it'd be 521. Well, you want to look while I finish up here? Okay.
Page 62 at the top. 21 through 31.
Okay, thank you. And
So in the,
is that okay? Never mind. I'll ask more when we have questions.
thank you. The 527, 528 is Maxfield Sports Complex. There's a big jump within that budget as well. We're looking to replace the John Deere Gator with another piece of equipment. It's like the truck is old and tired and needs to be replaced. And we're also asking for an estimated $80,000 at this point to finally deal with the dilapidated Emerge building that sits out there. So we're asking for funding to complete that particular project. Barwood Arena, a lot of the increase there is primarily related to the CBA agreement and benefits increases and some other minor increases within the 530 budget. I don't have listed here the 531, but the 531 budget is the caretakers for Amtrak. There's no significant change there other than an increase in the rate of pay. But all of that is recouped through payment by Amtrak for us to provide that service. So this gives you the comparison here of between FY 25 and 26. What you'll see, you might, if you look through the budget book, there might have been some differences in some of the lines related to my request. What you see here is the town manager's budget request. We're heading with that proposal. So that's what you see here today. It's a total difference of $335,154 increase for the Park and Recreation Agency. But everything is listed here, each division 511 through 531, and it hits majority of those things that we just talked about in the previous slide. And the net cost of, I always like that. It's cool. So we always like to identify that cost to the taxpayer for the Parks and Recreation Services. So based on what you see here today in front of you and what we see as the proposed budget to be raised by taxes, and that might have changed a little bit since I put the presentation together. But we sit about 6.2% of the overall proposed budget. And all the other town services are at a 93.8% of the burden there. This is just kind of an example of what Parks and Recreation Department and all the services that we do provide and the facilities that are available to the general public, what it potentially costs somebody with the home, various home values. At a $250,000 home, it's $263.25 annual tax for Parks and Recreation, broken down monthly, and what it might cost per day as an estimate, all the way to an example of someone that might have a home of $500,000 and the actual cost of Parks and Recreation for that particular taxpayer. So I think it's an interesting way to take a look at the value we believe and the importance of what we do for the community. And any questions that you might have? So, and I'll try to.
Just a quick question. Kind of naive here. Who does the preparation for the recreation master plan?
There we go. Okay, there we go. Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Mary. I was-
that's okay. I don't understand the recreation master plan. Who does the preparation for that? Is that in-house? Is that
No.
professionals?
Yeah, it's a professional consulting firm that would come in and provide that service for us. So,
Okay, and it's not related to your accreditation, or is it?
well, I mean, it's one of those standards that is a requirement. It's a mandatory requirement that we have a master plan. We kind of skip through it a little bit because we're part of the town master plan. However, the town master plan and the recreation component is not reviewed on an annual basis as the town master plan, or over a 5-year period, which is typically what they like for us to see. So you're taking, your goals and objectives and, your strategies and your actions, and you're putting them to work. In the town master plan, I can't update that other than what we recently did as a Park and Rec board, but it doesn't take it to that community engagement piece that is so important for the community and important for our agency.
You have to do this every 5 years.
Typically, it's every 5 years. I mean, for what we would need to do would be the onset of the master planning process for us. I think after 5 years, there might be a way for us to do it more internally or with less of a commitment from a firm of some sort. I am working with Lori. She sees some opportunities there for us to potentially get some planning grant funding. So we're not holding out that's not a possibility. So because it actually is. So.
And you've done this before, or you haven't, because
we-
it's been incorporated
Yeah.
in the
Correct.
town. Okay.
Yeah, our agency has never put forth the full
Right.
park and recreation master plan. So.
Okay, thank you.
Just a quick follow-up. Okay,
Go ahead.
this is just relevant.
Go ahead.
I'm just curious where the $60,000 estimate came from. Did it come from a specific contractor, or is that just a ballpark?
So on average, when talking with other departments within the region as well as nationally, it's about 100,000 plus project, and it could be anywhere from 80 to 120,000. So I started out with 60 originally, thinking as we started building the budget, thinking that would be enough, and then when really starting to talk to a lot of my colleagues, it's like, not in today's market. It's going to cost you more. So.
Yeah, I got a bunch of questions for you here, Scott. R4, what is R4 for trucks?
It's our two-wheel drive pickup truck that's got a lift gate on it.
So
So
is
it's-
that's not a plow truck then?
No, it's
Okay.
not a plow truck.
Are you looking to replace it with a plow truck? I
We
mean,
will get a four-wheel drive truck. The two-wheel drive truck is, it limits our use. I
Okay.
mean, very seldom, I mean, we use it in the winter time, but it was a truck that was purchased years ago for summer only. However, it gets winter use all the
Right.
time.
is it, you gonna get 2,500 or are you gonna get a half ton or 3/4 ton?
We were looking at, close to 60,000, an equipped truck, probably a 3/4 ton pickup with a stake or probably stake body at first, but looking at just a regular pickup body with toolboxes and that sort of thing. So,
Okay. And then talk to me about the purchase of the electric mowers that we purchased. How have those worked out for you guys?
we don't have really any complaints other than during the fall months. It's the operators are cold driving them. So
Okay.
because they don't heat up like an engine, would on the back. So that's the only complaint I get. There are some complaints, you have to be very cautious about how many hours are on it and where you're going for the day. They generally will go for about 6 to 7 hours, depending on how thick a grass you're cutting, has a lot to do with it as well. So we've been relatively pleased with them. No complaints. It's just like a Toro Z Master that's got an engine on it. It's just this has got batteries and you can hear all the rattles.
And all there is
You
just
know,
one
so-
battery for these things. They don't,
It's
it's not
a
they
s-
can swap out batteries in the middle of the day for them.
No, you can't swap out
Okay,
batteries.
it's
Yeah,
gotta be
this,
recharged.
these
will
are
this-
have to be recharged.
Will this provide will they provide your needs for entire day mowing on one charge?
Yeah, I mean, we bring them back and charge them
Okay.
and plug them in at the end of the day.
All right.
Yeah,
Then the next question I guess I have for you is the cemeteries,
Mhm.
cemetery maintenance. Where am I not seeing that within here? Is that buried
It's in the-
somewhere in it or?
it's in the 521 budget.
Okay, where?
Hold on a second, I'll get you that number.
On page 60.
Thank you.
Okay,
521, 318, 0341.
All right,
And that's just for non-active cemeteries. We, most of it is for maintenance, tree care, that sort of thing. We're in the middle of a major project right now. We did bids at the project had started out at Savage Cemetery. I can give you a prime example. We have not mowed that cemetery probably in 2 years. Primarily because of the hazard trees that surround that whole cemetery. We were able to get some encumbered funds, thanks to Gail and all her hard work to help us put some encumbered funds and some current budget monies together to address that park up there.
where
So
is Savage Cemetery?
it's out on Route 14 before you get to West Hartford.
Okay, Jericho, yeah. I
Yeah,
think I
up
know
on
which-
Jericho Road.
Yeah, which one you're talking about. So the cemeteries that are of that nature, how often do those cemeteries get mowed?
So we have one cemetery that's done by a neighbor. That's the Fruit Stand Cemetery. That's also up on the Sharon line. We'll go up there probably on a monthly basis. The Commons depends on staff time and conditions. It might be every other week. It might be once a month. So
What
that's
about
takes place.
not Dothan, but yeah, cemetery.
Christian?
Christian Street Cemetery.
Yeah, so I'm not responsible for that, so I can't
You are
really
not
answer.
responsible.
No, that's an active cemetery.
The town still owns.
Yeah,
town
but
is-
Parks and Recreation, my responsibility as it is and has been is just the non-active cemeteries. So those
So
are all.
Who is mowing that cemetery?
Gail,
There's contracted
There's a
services?
contractor, and actually it was reviewed last week with the town manager's presentation. It was listed in there.
Okay, so, okay, that falls under contracted. All right. Do you see the role of Parks and Rec expanding in terms of cemeteries?
No,
Yeah, straightforward answer. And, okay. Pretty well answered my questions, I guess.
however, we'll be a team player.
What's that?
I said, however, we'll be a team player.
Right. Yeah. And where do we stand as far as out here? With
Lyman Park.
Lyman Point, yeah. Correct.
So we're working with park architecture. And we haven't started the public process, probably gonna wait till the end of the holiday season. And there'll be some in community engagement meetings to get folks together to start talking about what they would like to see in an updated playground structure. And also if they will buy into and recognize some of the vision that we have for Lyman East and West, trying to connect the two properties and make it a more viable park amenity for the community and a space for everyone to enjoy. So.
And is there any, I apologize, is there any money in your budget for the reservoir for
No.
improvements? Nothing?
No.
Okay. So I don't know if we've come to a conclusion of what we're gonna do with that. So I'm just curious if you would include any money for that, so.
I haven't, and I know, we've gone through a process, meeting with some stakeholders, and John had some of his colleagues and folks that he's worked with that know, dams and understand the process, and it's got to be evaluated a little more at this point. I know. Working with Vermont League of Cities and Towns, state dam safety, that there's, not that we've been given a waiver, but there's a period of time that the high hazard description of the dam, there's a time period that we need to work through to determine, what we're going to do, what needs to happen. So at some point, a decision is going to have to be made to breach it or do something different.
And one last question for you, Scott, is where do we stand for the water situation in West Hartford Community Building and Library?
So I think I put that in my report for the SIGAC, but they've got drinking water that's being distributed through Allen's Vending. We spoke with, and it's in the report. It should be in the report. I hate to say the name because I can't recall.
Well, we're doing
the name.
something about
There-
treating water for.
Yeah, so there's a firm that will provide us an alternative test to determine exactly the type of iron that is causing some of the issues
Okay.
in the
thank you.
water, and then that will determine what type of filtration and the process that needs to be done to give you what you want. And giving us what we want is clean water that doesn't smell, and hopefully
Not stain.
not stain the appliances. It'll likely not be able to be consumed anyway.
So that'd be fine.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
more to
very
come
much.
on that. So
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yep.
Other questions for Scott? Okay.
Do you have any identified potential local option tax funded thing? I mean, I hesitate to say that considering.
I think, the last process was like, let's go for it, right? We were all excited, and the Park and Rec Committee excited about an opportunity to finally address this playground out here, why we increase our reserve account so we can continue to do it throughout all the other parks. So we know we kind of tackled it in a way that isn't the full process. So we're taking our time. We're gonna make it or go through the community-driven process. I don't think we're there for this round. I'd love to be for March, but I'd rather not try to push it. Let's just take it slow and easy and do it the right way. Not that we didn't do it the right way, but it's a bigger project than just a playground. So that's where we're heading with it. So
Yeah, well, I do hope it's successful ultimately.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe other, like the potential for the truck or something like that. I mean, I guess when will we discuss? And it's, okay. Anyway, like just the, going through, looking at some of the bigger ticket items,
Yeah.
thinking about what might be a plausible local option tax funded thing. Do you think that the pool revenues, are they meeting your original expectations?
not right now. I mean, they're not, I mean, budgetary wise, I think for operations, we're starting to see it level out right now. As you can see, we did reduce the salaries or wages a little bit based on past budgets, but I mean, it's a busy place.
Yeah, no, I mean,
And I think our expectations have always been a little higher. We're always looking at alternative ways to get people through the door and all. I'm always surprised that not too many people take advantage of buying the pass. Whether or not that would all even out, I don't know or at all, but when Lebanon's at $2, I think, to get through the door, resident or non-resident.
what's our like
$3?
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very reasonable still.
Yeah.
And I
so-
mean, I'm not advocating
Yeah.
for increasing the rates, but maybe, I don't know. I guess I think that the expectations some of us might have had was that, and it's, I mean, especially with the summer like we had this past summer with the heat waves and everything, it was such a.
That was in June.
June,
before,
yeah, and then it
rain
got
in
cold.
July.
Yeah.
2 years in a row, 2 summers.
Yeah, and it, the pool, the water itself was relatively cool most of those cool days, and nobody wants to, get in too often when the water's that cold, but.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, I think you have Juneteenth in the narrative for contracted services.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth, yes.
You get that in there for 2,000 again?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
great. I was a little confused by the narrative. I think most of the rest has been, I guess one just other kind of question is, what are the benefits to having the accreditation? Like, are we more eligible for grant funds and other, like, what are the main, I'm impressed and pleased that the agency is.
I mean, it's a lot of work for our agency. Some agencies have individuals that actually that's all they do. I think for one, it's a validation to your community that your agency is operating at a high level, and you're meeting the needs of the public. And if you're not, you have the tools in place that drive you and direct you into serving the community at 100%. So there's a variety. There's, like I said, there's 152 standards that we have to comply with. We have to show evidence of compliance that we are doing these things, whether or not it's annual review of goals and objectives, reviewing the staff manuals and trainings and a variety of things that put your agency in place. So when somebody walks in, there's no questions about what your responsibilities are as a department and what direction you're heading on an annual basis. So
I mean, I feel
there's some
like
good
you're-
benefits, it's just I was asked to not necessarily speak. They did a promotional thing for Capra at the national conference. So as a small agency, I was asked to, a few questions related to Capra, and one thing that's always been a daunting task for the department going through this process is it's harder to get reaccredited than it is to get accredited, because you have to show your homework, right? You have to show you're doing the things that are all of the best practices across the country and serving the public. So in parks and recreation, from facilities to how you maintain them, to staffing and how you train them, and all of the above. So.
And is that, anyway, I mean, obviously, I think that the Parks Department could be a model for many other, I don't know if you've ever spoken with John about the possibility of like some of those practices that you're employing in the Parks and Rec Department could potentially be mirrored in other departments and town as a whole, but anyway.
I mean, we still have challenges, right? I mean, we've got 25-year-old playground equipment,
Yeah.
but we're, putting a plan in place to address those, so that it's something too, that it be sustainable over years. So we never run into this problem of having, 5 playgrounds that have to be replaced, without enough funding to do so. So.
So accreditation is like a Michelin star.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
Yeah. Right.
It's recognition.
Yeah.
Questions for Scott? Ida?
One quick question. This might be a little bit of just a thought to plant a seed, but it is related to the budget increase around $20,000 for signage.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I just was curious, probably prompted by Lanny bringing up the reservoir again, and the discussion we had when a community member presented a lot of historical information about the reservoir. I think you're probably here for that meeting. I know we don't know what's, the plan is for that moving forward, but I just was curious if your department like collaborates with the historical society or on like historical signage around the town, if that could potentially be considered if you do get granted this budget increase for signage. Specifically with the Brights Reservoir, there was a really amazing history to that, and it might not be there forever. So like having some context for what was there and what the space, who donated it to the town, and what its intention was.
So that you're spot on. I mean, we actually talked about that when we were doing that tour, and then just most recently, the Historical Preservation Committee met with the two individuals related to Kilowatt South. They reviewed some historical information for a kiosk that we're looking to install at the up at the very top entrance, where there's some park benches that overlook Kilowatt South, that will talk about the history of the mills that were there. So
that'd be great.
That's a component of some of the things that we're talking about.
Yeah, because with Kilowatt, I think that at one point that building was like a little historical museum, but now the dam company uses it as offices. But that's what I heard from somebody. But yeah, anyways, that'd be great. I think thinking about the Wrightsville Reservoir, something there could be great too.
It just prompted me, Kilowatt, down to Kilowatt. We had a discussion where we were going to approach them about seeing if we could come up with some money from them to help pay for their maintenance and stuff. Where do we sit with that?
So that's part of the FERC relicensing process.
But I mean, it relates to, helping out your budget. So where are we at with FERC?
So
Are you involved with that
it's going to be a few year process, more than likely. John's been working with kind of consortium of individuals that have the same focus as we do up and down the Connecticut, to try to work together as a group to maybe leverage some support for financial support and other things for other communities. I meet with Great River Hydro folks annually just to walk the property. This year we had a great conversation. We talked about improvements and enhancements. we didn't get into the details of FERC, but, you know, they were all very pleased with the site and excited about the vision. So that's some staff members, but that's not the higher ups that make the decisions on.
When
on
you say they
finances, so-
were interested in that, I mean, does that mean they were interested in helping financially with it?
No, because they're not the one, these are the community outreach folks
Okay.
and all, but, you know, they would have some influence probably, but, they're not the ones that would be, you know, shifting funds
Do
over to us.
they
but,
pay for the boat launch or do we own the boat launch?
Great River Hydro owns all of the property.
The boat launch itself though, they.
It's all of it. Yeah.
okay, so they-
Yep.
so
Yeah.
they-
So, but we're responsible for regular maintenance.
Right.
Our problem is that we can do the regular maintenance, but it's harder now to repair bad every year.
Do you put that in or do they do that? The boat launch?
Are you talking about like the docks?
The dock, yeah.
Oh, the docks. No, we put that in.
You put it.
Yeah,
okay.
and those are our docks.
Okay, that's what my question, okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank
We're
you.
looking to enhance those. But
Right, that's
part of
what
it.
I was getting at is that, all right, thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks for prompting that.
Other questions for Scott? Okay. Scott, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Best Parks and Rec
Appreciate it.
Department in the state.
Well, thank you.
And
We think so.
Selling point for Hartford as well, so thanks very much.
action items for Scott for next week when he comes back.
Mary?
I actually have somebody wrote me an email, so I'm just gonna
Yeah,
pass this
sure.
on. For things like Barwood Arena, the swimming pool, we get very many people from out of Hartford, and do you keep track of any of that data?
Yeah, so all of our registration data is identified, resident, non-resident. We can get you that information.
It's just, you
The-
know,
the
this
arena-
person asked about
Yeah.
that, about other categories, so I thought, well, I'll just ask.
The arena is like, you know, it's a regional facility, even though
Right.
there's other rinks in the area, but, you know, the Upper Valley Hockey League, the Storm group, you know, a lot of Hartford kids, a lot of Lebanon kids.
Yeah.
You know, so it does reach out, you know, across the borders.
So Campion doesn't share. Campion, Hanover don't share with Lebanon.
They might, you
Okay.
know, I'm not sure their demographic that they,
Yeah.
you know, that utilizes that space. But we do get a lot of non-residents that utilize it, but for all of our local leagues, adult leagues, most of them are coordinated and organized by local residents that, you know, and there's non-residents that partake. And that-
do
fac-
I mean, except for WABA, for like swimming, et cetera,
Mhm.
do non-residents pay more?
So I'd have to answer, I can't recall.
Okay,
We do have a non-resident rate, I think, for passes. I'm not sure if the daily admission is a non-resident one.
okay,
So, but we do track, if you come in as somebody that wants to pay daily,
right,
you're a daily user.
right.
So we know who you are, your address, all that. They come in, you say who you are as a daily payer and you pay your $3. So we track it that way. So,
Thanks.
I don't
All right,
think
no
there
Don't
was-
want to give you too much work.
Yep.
I don't think there were any action items except the local option tax when we have that meeting, I think.
And reserve for the truck maybe, I mean, but again, that'll be next steps, so.
Okay, all right, let's take 5 and then.
Thank you.
Sign our stuff, take a break and then come back and.
You have ice in right now, Scott?
excuse me?
You have ice in right now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been in
Been in for a
since
while.
We are back from our break. We're gonna do hear from Gail on the finance budget presentation, which is only about 3 slides, and it's a
Yes.
decrease in budget, so
Yes,
turn it
so
over to you.
the finance department, we have 4 people in there. We have myself and 3 other staff members. And that's 92% of my entire budget. My budget for 2026 for salaries and benefits is 439,000 and some change. Versus last year for 25, it was 481,000. That's a $42,000 decrease. And part of that has to do with, I had high hopes to reorganize my department to build depth. And it's kind of stalled a little bit. I will leave it at that. It's a work in progress, and hopefully we will be able to come to some sort of resolution in the next few months. And if that's the case, I will make whatever adjustments I need to make, and cutting something if I need to meet those salary requirements.
So decrease 42 in salary, total decrease of 45.
Yes. Yep, and part of that is to do with reduction in some of the contracted services that we have. So my department's made up of staff and contracted services, which include our finance software, our laser feature where we store all of our stuff in the cloud, postage. I mean, there's not a whole lot to my department.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody has
Questions for Gail?
any questions.
Hey,
Want me to go first? So Gail, now that we have an increase in personnel in your department, my question is, well, somewhat related to an increase in personnel in your department. We have an increase in personnel in administrative in the public works.
I
So,
don't have an increase in my department.
well, you have 4 people. You used to have 3 people.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, a few years ago. So now you've had 1 person. So bear with me. Okay.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
confused. I apologize. I thought you meant monetarily.
No. Bear with me. And then they have 2 people now on administrative aspect in public works. My question to you is, would it make sense to, almost hate to ask the question, but I'm going to, would it make sense to take the billing for water and sewer back out of you guys and put it back up to public works? Because they have the ability to do that with the personnel they have.
I will say that discussion has happened in the last couple months, but
Okay.
I'm not in a position to have further discussion about it.
Okay, but I'm just wondering how that monetarily would reflect on the budget aspect for you guys versus public
It
works.
wouldn't change anything. It would actually just give us probably 8 hours of breathing in a month that staff member would actually be able to do their work during regular hours and not have to work overtime.
Yeah, I just think it's, okay, for my position, now that we have 2 people doing administrative type tasks within public works, it would seem like it'd be wise for us to move that task back to public works.
So that could be a question that you could ask next week at the wrap-up discussion, because I can't speak for public works.
I understand that, but I just wanted to, I think it's something we should explore. Thank you.
other questions for Gail? Kim?
Do you have plans to use any encumbered funds for your fiscal 26 budget?
I don't think so. I don't think we're gonna have any.
I know there were quite a few from last year.
Let me just look real quick. I don't think that there is, because it would only be for contracted services. No, I don't believe that we have any.
Okay.
Off the top of my, none. When we get to the auditing, we have some funds that will be encumbering, but we can talk about that when we get there. So for my 171, no.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your budget's pretty straightforward, so.
Yeah. Yeah, that was all.
I'd be happy to just have 2 lines and we'll be done with it.
Other questions for Gail?
When you're doing such a great job, it's not a.
Okay, thanks for that, Gail. Our next item is, Gail, I believe you as well, recreation deficit.
No,
We'll do the
no,
audit
we have to
first.
do
Audit.
the
Oh.
auditing services, which is Department 173.
Okay.
And this should take about 30 seconds.
Oh, right,
A
okay.
couple months ago, the board, I selected, oh my goodness.
Budget.
Yes, thank you, as our audit firm, and we signed a 3-year contract with them. So the number that's in here, for 2025, we were at 45,000, and for 2026, we're at 39,500, which represents the contract that the board signed with them.
Questions for the other one? Kim?
Just that, so this is the one that it will, future years going forward, it will show the whole amount.
Correct.
in there.
Yeah.
I think that's really helpful, just understanding
No, good.
historic.
Okay, so.
All right, so now we'll go to Fund 73 and
Well,
Fund 80.
Before we do that, can I just go through my list for the budget? Because I
Sure.
know a lot of the things you guys have been mentioning. So at the 12/3 meeting, we're going to provide, it's in the board packet, a list of the non-negotiable items as requested, and the town manager has put a memo together for that.
Mhm.
There's also going to be a list of corrections as we've gone through the budget. You've gone through the budget. You've provided a list of corrections, whether they're monetary ones or narrative ones. I will be providing a list of the monetary ones, and to date, there's been a $27,000 decrease from what we started in the budget.
Okay.
The narrative corrections will not happen until I open the budget software back up to go in to make the narrative corrections. So you have to bear with the narrative ones until we get to that point.
Okay.
Also at the 12/3 meeting, you will be provided a list of the reserves. You will not receive them in advance. I have going to be taking some time off for the holiday, and I don't have enough time to do it. We'll also provide you a list of potential items for law items. Those will be based on staff recommendations and also throughout the budget presentations that we've had. And also the last item will be provided is a list of items to close the gap between the expenses and revenues. So just wanted to make sure everybody knew that's where we're at. That's what the expectation is for the next meeting.
Would this be the right time? I do just have like a running list of things I want to follow up on. Would it make sense to share that with you now, or maybe to send that in an email?
I think it would be great if you could send it in an email.
Okay,
And then.
that was my, I mean, basically been like kind of just collecting my thoughts, and then prior to one of the wrap-up meetings, I thought I would share them, so.
Yeah, definitely send it to
John.
John, and you can copy me, or you can send it to John and wait for him to come back next week,
Yeah.
whatever.
I would welcome you to copy me on that. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the standard, maybe because John's away, I'll just send it to the select board separately, but don't reply. And
Yeah.
then,
I'd be interested in your thoughts.
Okay, Gail?
Okay, now we can talk about the deficit.
Okay.
So Fund 73 and Fund 80, as I indicated in the agenda memo, they both have a deficit. These deficits started many, many, many years ago. That came from multiple different projects, which I've listed in here. And since I've been employed here, we have kind of just let it ride there. And because we had bigger fish to fry in different areas. So we're ready now at the recommendation of our audit firm to actually bring that deficit to a 0. And these both are governmental funds, so they're all done within the government side of the town. And to do so, we would have to do a transfer, a total of $175,743.77 out of the general fund into those two funds. Again, it's not physical cash, and I think that's where a lot of people get lost, is that they think, ooh, we're giving them physical cash. It's not, it's fund balance. And a fund balance incorporates all of your assets and liabilities. So yeah, on paper, we're moving that funding. And it'll also give us a better opportunity will give myself and also staff an opportunity to track going forward if we're projecting that a project will have matching funds, or we're looking for donations, a project, if there's a gap in the funding when we get to the end, what happened? So.
So I don't have a problem whatsoever with transferring out the funds, but what would they be transferred into?
Again, it's a fund balance. So each fund has a balance sheet, and that consists of assets and liabilities. And right now, those two funds are carrying a negative. We can look at them.
So it's not like it can be used to offset something else in the budget. you're telling me.
It's not real money.
So, okay, not really.
It's fund balance.
What was it? What was the purpose of the?
So an
Okay.
example, as I wrote in my agenda, it could be for the Maxfield, when they redid the Maxfield Lane or the driving lane, a parking lot area. I can't remember what.
But where would the real money come to back up the fake money? That's the only way. I can
So what
think of it.
hap, well, when you do the project, what happens is if you have a project that's funded part of grant money and town match money, and you're expecting to have all this grant money, so you keep reporting the expenses to that particular fund because you want to make sure that your expense lives in the correct fund.
Okay.
And in the end, you may not have received all of that funding. So yes, the general fund physically paid for that.
So it's not gonna do us any good on the budget, but at least it cleans up.
That's correct. We're
Cleans
talking
up.
about cleaning up the financial statements.
I got you. Okay, now I'm tracking with it. Thank you for your time.
The questions, there's a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
If there's no any other questions? Okay, make a motion that we authorize the finance director to complete 2 separate fund transfers. First being $55,742.06, Fund 73, and the second being $120,001.71, Fund 80, for a total transfer out of the general fund totaling $175,743.77.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
A second from Mary, any discussion? Hey, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Yeah, last item with you, I believe,
Yes. So the last
external
one,
audit, we just have to accept it.
that is correct.
Okay.
And it's unfortunate that the town manager is not here because this is not normally something that I would present because
Yep.
it's part of,
Right.
That's kind of conflict interest.
well, it has a high level of correct of what I do. So I'm not sure if there is going to be a discussion. I've also asked Joe Major to be here as a town treasurer as he oversees
Yep.
he sees many things that happen in my department and across the town.
So John's little summary memo is on page 73. The audit report was provided to us. We had an opportunity to ask questions and get a response. Our role now is to accept the audit report, and there's a recommended motion. Does anyone have any questions or discussion? Kim?
Just technical, like, do we need to say as amended since that page 32 was changed?
I did send it to everybody.
Right.
I emailed everybody the page and it was also updated on the website. So yes, you could, because it's in the official packet you received wasn't in there. So you could say that if you wanted. But you are in possession of it, so.
Yep.
Take a motion?
So,
Or-
okay, so you're good, you want to go ahead,
I was-
No, I was just gonna make a motion.
Go ahead.
okay, that's what I'm saying, go ahead. I was gonna know, but you.
All right, Mr. Chair, I move
Yes.
that the select board accept the audit report supplied by the town's external auditors, Mudgett, Jenner, and Crow Weisner, PC, as amended, dated November 26, 2024.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thanks very much, Gail. I think that's.
Yes, and I'm leaving.
Yeah. Enjoy.
I started my car already.
Thank you all. I will see you next Tuesday.
Thanks, Joe, for being here.
Have a good
Bye,
night.
Joe.
All right, guys, we have one more.
Have a nice Thanksgiving, Gail.
Thank you.
You know what I meant.
Thanksgiving.
So our last business item is Sue's committee
start my car.
assignments.
I thought you were doing-
Hey, guys. What's the
Sue's committee assignments. So Sue's committee assignments, Aquatic Center Oversight, Hartford Business Revolving Loan Committee, Parks and Rec Commission. Seeing if we want to take these, this would just be till March. A new board comes in then, new roles and responsibilities are given out then. So this would just be till March. Anyone have any interest in any one of these through March? Right?
I've been on Parks and Rec before, so I'll just go back.
Any objection to Mary
Thanks,
taking
Mary.
Parks and Rec?
So, no.
Lynn?
So the question about Aquatic Center Oversight Committee very rarely meets.
Right.
So it's kind of an arbitrary thing.
So.
And the
anyone
Hartford
want-
Business Revolving Loan Committee is another one that,
Yeah.
They meet
Huh.
quarterly.
so is there another
So
meeting
you
of
may or may
them?
not have a meeting before March is the thing.
I'd be happy to take that one.
Which one?
Great.
The Revolving Loan Committee.
Okay, I'd be happy to take the Aquatic Center.
Great.
You don't have to do anything.
Someone's gotta take it, I mean. All right, so Mary Parks and Rec, Lanny, revolving loan. I will do the Aquatic Center Oversight Committee.
Somebody's gotta let me know when revolving loan committee meets again, though.
Well, their,
Sure.
their page on the website still has their 2023 meetings and their old expired member list with the wrong chair and everything. And I mentioned that to them not long ago, but so you might just reach out to
Who's the chair?
Lori, Lori's
Lori involved?
a liaison, like she's the staff liaison to that, so she would know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so now we're on to commission reports. Kim?
I do not have anything. I should have. Anyway, I do not have
Okay.
anything.
Brandon, do you have anything?
No.
Mary?
Last two meetings for HCOREI, we haven't had a quorum.
Okay.
So,
I didn't.
no, not for me.
Lanny, anything?
No, I was sick at the last meeting that I was supposed to go to and I didn't make it, so.
Okay. I don't have any commission reports. Consent agenda. I will take a motion.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
I move that the select board approve payroll ending November 23rd, 2024, AP manifests of November 22nd and November 27, 2024, and approve the meeting minutes of November 12, November 14, and November 19, and upcoming select board meetings of December 3rd, 2024 for budget, December 10, 2024, December 17, 2024, and December 19, 2024, also budget.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
A second from Mary. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved at
We
8:17.
have a second.
I'll second that.
Second
Budget
from
season's
Mary. Any
grueling.
discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yep.
We'll be seeing a lot of each other over the next 3 weeks.
Did your computer turn back on for you?